Oh my god.
The movie begins in 1986 in Santa Cruz. A young girl named Adelaide is on vacation with her parents. While her dad plays at an arcade, she wanders off and notices a strange man holding a sign with a Bible verse. She ignores him and heads toward the beach where dark clouds gather in the distance. As she explores, she finds an old, abandoned funhouse filled with mirrors. Curious, she steps inside. The flickering lights and eerie reflections make her uneasy. A fake owl suddenly pops out, making her jump. Then, the power goes out. Trying to stay calm, she whistles, but to her shock, someone whistles back. Frightened, she turns and sees her reflection. But something is wrong. The reflection doesn't move with her. When the other girl finally turns around, Adelaide freezes in fear. The story jumps to 2019. Adelaide is now an adult and traveling to their summer home with her husband Gabe and their two kids, Zora and Jason. During lunch, Gabe playfully encourages Zora to keep running since she has the potential to be an athlete. Meanwhile, Jason, who is shy about his magic trick, keeps practicing in secret. Gabe then announces they'll visit the Santa Cruz beach. Adelaide immediately tenses up. Memories of her childhood incident flood back, how she had disappeared for 15 minutes and refused to talk afterward. Her parents had taken her to therapy, where she was encouraged to express herself through art, but she never told anyone what had happened. Adelaide is still uneasy about going to the beach. Gabe reassures her, reminding her that it's their first summer there since Grandma passed away. She hesitantly agrees. While looking for Jason, she finds a box of her childhood keepsakes. A picture reminds Adelaide of her days as a dancer. As she glances in the mirror, a wave of anxiety rushes over her. The moment is cut short by Jason's screams. He is trapped in a closet after hiding inside. She quickly helps him out and warns him not to play there again. On the drive to the beach, Adelaide tries to stay calm, but the familiar scenery makes her uneasy. Flashbacks of her parents arguing about her childhood silence fill her mind. Her thoughts are interrupted when she sees an ambulance. Paramedics are carrying away a lifeless body. It's the same man with the Bible sign from years ago. At the beach, they meet the Tylers, a rich but shallow couple. Adelaide doesn't like Kitty, but she puts up with her for Gabe's sake. Zora also dislikes their daughters, finding them rude. As Kitty tries to make conversation, Adelaide admits that talking isn't easy for her. Overwhelmed by the crowd, she zones out and nearly gets hit by a frisbee. Meanwhile, Jason steps out of the restroom and notices a tall man in a trench coat with blood dripping from his fingers. At that moment, Adelaide starts panicking because Jason has been in the washroom for a long time and still hasn't come back. Moments later, he returns, casually explaining that he was just in the bathroom. That night, Adelaide tucks Jason into bed and notices his latest drawing, a sketch of the bleeding man from the beach. Uneasy, she finally opens up to Gabe. She tells him about the night she saw a girl who looked exactly like her. Ever since that moment, she has feared the girl would come back. Now, with all the strange things happening, she is sure something is wrong. Gabe reassures her, promising to keep her safe, when suddenly, the power goes out. Jason walks in, whispering that a family is standing in their driveway. Gabe checks and sees 4 strange figures standing in the dark, holding hands. A chill runs down Adelaide's spine. Something is very wrong. Her hands shake as she quickly dials 911, while Gabe steps outside, trying to act tough and scare them away. But the figures don't move, so he returns home, where Adelaide informs him that the cops will arrive in a few minutes. Gabe grabs a bat and steps outside to threaten them, but 2 figures quickly scurry out of sight while the tallest one moves toward him. Panic sets in, and Gabe rushes inside, locking the door behind him. Upstairs, Zora spots one of the figures sitting in a tree, while Jason notices another one staring at him through the window. Suddenly, loud banging echoes through the house. The strangers are trying to break in. Then, just as suddenly, the noise stops. Silence fills the air. A faint whistle breaks the stillness. A hand reaches under a rock and pulls out the spare key. Gabe braces against the door, but the intruder forces it open. A towering figure steps inside. He looks exactly like Gabe, but wears a red jumpsuit and holds a bat. The rest of the strangers break in through the windows, and the family is horrified to see that they are exact copies of them, except for their unsettling expressions and large golden scissors. Adelaide's double, a woman with a rough, strained voice, steps forward. In a slow, deliberate tone, she tells a story about a girl and her shadow, how one lived a normal life while the other suffered in darkness. When the girl ate, her shadow was forced to eat raw rabbit. When the girl received gifts, the shadow got sharp, broken toys. And now, after all these years, the shadow has come to take back what was stolen from her. Once, a girl meets a prince and falls in love. But in the shadows, her double is forced to marry a man named Abraham, whether she wants to or not. When the girl has a daughter, the shadow gives birth to something monstrous. When the girl has another child through surgery, the shadow has to endure the pain alone. Over time, resentment turns into hatred, but eventually, the shadow sees it as a test from God. Red, the shadow version of Adelaide, finishes her chilling story. Terrified, Gabe offers them money to leave, but Red isn't interested. When he asks who they are, she simply replies, "We're Americans?" She then forces Adelaide to handcuff herself to the table, threatening her children if she resists. Abraham snatches Gabe's glasses and drags him outside, hitting him when he tries to fight back. Once they're out, Abraham knocks him unconscious. Inside, Red instructs Zora to run, sending her doppelganger, Umbre, to chase her. Meanwhile, Jason is led into a closet by his double, Pluto, who mimics his every move. Pluto removes his mask, revealing his burned face. When Pluto gestures for Jason to show his magic trick, Jason seizes the moment to trick him. He jumps out of the closet and locks Pluto inside. Meanwhile, Zora runs down the road as fast as she can, but suddenly, Umbre appears right in front of her. Zora quickly hides behind a car, and Umbre copies her movements on the other side. Then, without any warning, Umbre disappears. Zora nervously checks under the car but doesn't find her. Just then, she looks up and sees Umbre crouched on the car's roof, smiling creepily. While this is happening, a man nearby shouts at Umbre, distracting her for a moment. Zora doesn't waste any time. She takes off running while Umbre turns and attacks the man with her scissors. Back at the lake, Gabe wakes up inside a trash bag and realizes Abraham has taken him to a boat. As Abraham growls and heads toward the house, the boat's engine suddenly stops. Gabe takes the chance to tear through the bag and hit Abraham with a bat, knocking him into the water. The engine suddenly starts again, pulling Gabe in too. As the boat spins out of control, Gabe climbs back on. But Abraham comes back, trying to stab him with scissors. Thinking fast, Gabe slams his head against the engine to restart it, causing the motor to pull Abraham in and kill him instantly. Inside the house, Adelaide is still handcuffed and begs to know what they want. Red calmly explains that they have been waiting for this day for a long time, the day of the untethering. She slams Adelaide's head against the glass table, but stops when she hears Pluto crying. Red steps away to free her son, pausing when she finds Adelaide's childhood box. She picks up a stuffed bunny and, without hesitation, cuts off its head. Determined to escape, Adelaide stretches her leg toward a fireplace poker and smashes the table to break free. She grabs the poker as a weapon and searches for Jason. When she sees Pluto coming after them, she quickly blocks the way with furniture. She and Jason rush outside and reunite with Zora. The three run to the pier and jump onto Gabe's boat. He speeds away as their creepy doubles watch them disappear into the night. Meanwhile, at the Tyler house, the family has no idea about the chaos happening. Kitty hears a noise outside and tells her husband, Josh, to check. He jokingly says he sees someone, until the real threat appears. Their doubles, dressed in red and holding scissors, silently approach. Within moments, they attack and kill the entire family. Later, Adelaide's family arrives at the Tyler's house, looking for help. When Josh's double opens the door, Adelaide instantly realizes something is wrong. His red jumpsuit and the bloodstains give it away. Without hesitation, she hits him in the head with her poker. But the fake Josh barely reacts, grabbing her arm as the others drag her inside. Outside, Gabe runs while his kids sneak into the house. Zora finds a golf club for protection. As she and Jason enter the living room, they freeze. The real Tylers are dead, their bodies sprawled across the floor. Upstairs, they hear screaming. Jason grabs a heavy object and they carefully move toward the noise. Suddenly, one of the Tyler twins' doubles flips through the air, blocking their way. Zora doesn't hesitate. She swings the golf club, hitting the girl and sending her crashing down to her death. The other twin attacks, but Zora fights back, striking again and again until she takes her down. Meanwhile, Adelaide is trapped in the bedroom, handcuffed to the bed. Her double, fake Kitty, calmly applies makeup while staring into the mirror. She leans over Adelaide with the scissors, ready to strike, but instead, she playfully turns the blade on herself, savoring the moment. Gabe hides inside a boat, hoping to escape, but his double, fake Josh, comes after him. Thinking quickly, Gabe fires a flare, hitting Josh in the face and killing him. Meanwhile, Kitty hears the noise from inside the house. She reacts in a strange way, silent screams mixed with laughter. Zora sneaks up behind her, trying to attack, But Kitty is fast and shoves her onto the bed. Just as Kitty is about to stab Zora with scissors, Jason jumps in and knocks her down from behind. With Kitty taken care of, the family gathers in the living room. Adelaide tries to call for help, but no one answers. Turning on the news, they realize a terrifying truth. Identical figures in red jumpsuits are appearing all over the country, killing their real selves. Some reports say they have come from underground tunnels, and now they are forming a massive chain, holding hands in the streets. Gabe insists they stay in the house where it's safe, but Adelaide disagrees. She convinces him, and the family gets ready to leave. As Adelaide searches for the car keys, she suddenly feels uneasy. She quickly turns around and grabs a pan just in time to block an attack from Kitty. A fierce fight breaks out, and Adelaide spots a pair of scissors on the floor. She grabs them and strikes, finishing Kitty for good. As she catches her breath, she notices Jason watching everything. The family rushes outside and jumps into the car, only to find Umbre standing in the road. Zora, now in the driver's seat, presses the gas, trying to run her over. But Umbre is fast. She jumps onto the roof and starts pounding on the windows with her scissors. Zora slams the brakes, throwing Umbre into the woods. Adelaide goes to check and finds her impaled on a tree branch, barely alive. Seeing her suffer, with a face that looks too much like Zora's, makes Adelaide hesitate. Instead of finishing her off, she leaves her there to die alone. By morning, the family reaches town, only to find their original car burning, and Pluto standing nearby. As Adelaide carefully approaches him, Jason realizes something is wrong. It's a trap. The family jumps out of the car just as Pluto sets it on fire. But Jason remembers something. Pluto copies his movements. Thinking quickly, Jason steps backward, forcing Pluto to do the same, right into the flames. As Pluto burns, Red seizes the moment to grab Jason and disappear. Desperate, Adelaide runs after them, leading her back to the beach, where even more doppelgangers stand, holding hands. She enters the funhouse, retracing her steps from childhood. She breaks through a mechanical owl that used to scare her, then keeps moving and finds a hidden door. As she steps in, a rabbit runs past. She moves through a maze of underground tunnels and finally finds Red inside a classroom covered in strange drawings. Red calmly reveals the truth. Humans built this place to create clones that would control the people above. But something went wrong. They could copy bodies, not souls. These clones, called the Tethered, were abandoned and forced to live underground, eating rabbits and slowly losing their minds. Red explains that she was different. She reveals that when they first met as children, she switched places with Adelaide. The real Adelaide was trapped underground while the fake one took over her life. Red's ballet training came from watching the girl above, and over the years, she planned this moment, the Tethered's uprising. Suddenly, Red attacks. She moves gracefully like a dancer, dodging every swing from Adelaide. Slashing with scissors, she pushes Adelaide into a desperate fight. The two clash in the tunnels, but Red is always one step ahead. Eventually, Red stabs Adelaide in the stomach and disappears into the shadows. Adelaide stumbles into another room, but Red is waiting, ready to strike again. This time, Adelaide reacts just in time, driving a sharp poker into Red's chest. Even then, Red keeps fighting, laughing through the pain. Determined to end it, Adelaide wraps the broken handcuffs around Red's neck and strangles her until she stops moving. Finally, Adelaide finds Jason locked inside a storage unit. They escape the tunnels and reunite with the rest of the family, driving off in an ambulance. As they leave, Adelaide remembers the past, the full truth. That night at the carnival, she had been the doppelganger. She had choked the real Adelaide unconscious, dragged her underground and taken her place. That's why she struggled to speak as a child, and why Red was the only Tethered who could talk. Jason watches his mother, suspicion growing in his eyes, but Adelaide simply smiles. Meanwhile, across the country, the Tethered continue their silent revolution, holding hands in an endless line stretching beyond the horizon. And that's how the movie ends. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting movie summaries. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.